front of you here, what's rather obvious, as you can also see, is the fact that it's home to The Lion King, the famous musical. It's been here at the Lyceum Theatre since 1999, and in fact the worldwide takings for The Lion King, including the film that was made, have reached over some £1 billion, more than the Titanic, all of the Harry Potter films and Star Wars. So quite a feat, as you can imagine. Now this is actually the third theatre on this site, or in the local area to here, dating back originally to the 1790s. What you can see now dates from 1907, although within the previous two theatres on the site there are various claims to fame, not least that it was one of the first to have gas lighting back in the 19th century, and was also the first home of Madame Tussauds waxworks before they eventually ended up at Baker Street. So there we are. Now, it was William Shakespeare's Hamlet that was at the centre of one of the theatre's greatest ever nights, the 31st of October 1874. Legendary actor, manager Henry Irving starred as Hamlet, his performance, aged 36, propelling him to stardom almost overnight, helped rather by the fact that this was the first night where the press were officially invited to come along and see it. Now 4 years after that he'd effectively taken over the theatre, but he also had as his right hand man somebody who was then responsible for answering all the letters that came in, selecting prospective new plays and looking after the money for the theatre. And this right-hand man later immortalised his boss, Henry Irving, in his own literary creation, published back in 1897, which was Dracula. Can anybody name the right-hand man that I'm talking about? The author of Dracula? Bram Stoker, absolutely right. And in fact, Bram Stoker wanted Henry Irving to portray the part on the Lyceum Theatre stage, although unfortunately that never actually happened. But the two of them, with their massive, great big egos, as you can probably imagine, were known to be very well connected, and in fact lots of famous people would come along to their first nights, former Prime Minister Sir William Gladstone, Oscar Wilde, to name but a few. Not also forgetting Henry Irving's leading lady, Ellen Terry, somebody you might have heard of, one of the most famous actresses of the time, and it was under his stewardship that she had lots of success in various Shakespearean parts as well at the Lyceum Theatre, not least Ophelia in Hamlet alongside Henry himself. And he was the first actor to have been given a knighthood back in 1895 by Queen Victoria. Now the two of them, Henry Irving and Bram Stoker, were known to take part on Saturday nights in a rather bizarre club that was centred at the Lyceum. They basically went into what was known as the beefsteak room. Late on a Saturday night, they'd sit there, they'd drink port, they'd eat juicy steaks, they'd chat to each other and basically get drunk. And why not? Who can blame them? And this was a rather interesting institution, given the fact that there was only ever a maximum number of 24 of them at any one time. And in fact, the society painter William Hogarth was one of the founding members. They all referred to each other as the Stakes as well, so all really rather bizarre. They also wore these rings with emblems of a gridiron on, so that they could show each other their membership of this exclusive club. And in fact, the membership criteria was so stringent that even the Prince Regent, later King George IV, was only ever on a waiting list. So there you go. Now, as you came into the 20th century, this was the place where Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's first theatre play was performed with his legendary detective character Sherlock Holmes, which was after he'd previously been killed off. He comes back and it's called The Return of Sherlock Holmes, a play in 4 acts. American actor William Gillette was basically responsible for doing various different things with the character, including introducing the famous deerstalker cap between clothing and the calabash pipe that we most often associate with Sherlock Holmes. Finally, the theatre here does have a rather bizarre connection with the rock band U2. They signed their first record deal with Island Records in March 1980 at the Lyceum Theatre, in the ladies' toilet. Quite what they were doing in the ladies' toilet at the time is anybody's guess. So there we are, and we go now from the Lyceum Theatre down onto the Strand and to see one of London's most famous hotels.